Hi, I'd like to show you some of the elementary school group projects. The first is a nature weaving done by the preschool. So we took rope and created a warp from tree branches to pegs, 10 pegs that were put in the ground. And then this created a warp that the children took leaves and twigs and branches and wove it together. And it was a great way for students to work together to find their own place within this larger group, and a great way for the students to be a part of something larger than themselves and to create something big. And a lot of enthusiasm comes about, and it's a very temporary thing. Within a couple of days, leaves dried up, grass dries up, but for a week or so, it's great. And the second is a project that the first grade did. They were working on cities, and they discussed how cities look and how they feel, and they talked about cities they had been to. And then they divided themselves up, and they decided who was to paint where and who wanted to paint what and how they should work on this large piece. It was great to see at an early age how they could organize themselves and be reasonable about space and how they were going to all work and have room for each other. And the next is a giant. The second grade worked on giants, and this guy was huge. He had tremendous legs. You can see he's seated, so those legs are not straightened out. And it was made out of paper. They stuffed up newspapers and sealed it together with staples, and for a while he was an amazing presence in that classroom. And the next is fourth grade, and they were working on, actually it was third grade, they were working on acacia trees, Africa. We did this, the tree trunk was out of paper mache, fashioned on top of poultry netting. And the next was done by the third or fourth grade, and it was a Chinese dragon. You were looking at the head there. It was hollowed out. They formed this image on top of cardboard boxes. It had a tail equally as large. In between was, maybe 7 feet of fabric that they had painted, and there would be students that would be in the front of the head and other in the back, and the others sort of hiding behind the fabric piece. And they worked with the Chen dancers, I believe, and they did a dance routine, and this dragon was an integral part of that experience. The next was a project that the lower school was involved in. It was it was inspired by Louise Nevelson. We took a trip to the Storm King Museum, and they were had the experience of seeing some of her original work. We also saw a documentary, and then each student got to work on their own piece. So they each had a box that they created images from found objects. You can see there's a discarded lacrosse net, there's light bulbs in there, there's all sorts of discarded hardware pieces, and they put this together and then painted it white. So we had that unity going with the white, but one of the interesting aspects is to see how they were really thinking about abstract shapes, how they were using the negative space. I would ask them as they finished the project to explain where your eye went and how you traveled around the piece. And they were great. They really got it. This is a close-up, and so the whole project was maybe 15 feet by 8, and took up a wall in the museum. They did a great job. The next is a project that was inspired by the fourth grade study of Native American culture. They were studying the Northwest Indians, and so we did a totem pole. Each student had a section that they were responsible for, and they were formed on top of discarded large industrial ice cream containers, and they had to decide what animal or what ancestral figure represented them and their family. They wrote a paragraph about why they were choosing this and how they were going to make this a representation of their family line. The next two were sixth grade projects. They did preliminary sketches. They worked on a large draft before they did a painting. A lot of the detail was lost in the painting, but that's all part of the learning process. And they decided on space and the ocean. The next is also a sixth grade project. They were working on just using black and white, having equal amount of black and equal amount of white. They created their own cube and they assembled them together in groups. This is just a small section of larger groups. And the next is a 8th grade project, and they were each given a piece of foam board, and this foam board was supposed to be represented as representation of who they were. Some had collages of friends and family. Others had just a simple, huge soccer ball, because that's who they felt. That's what they felt was a great representation of who they were. And the second one is the same sculpture, just from another point of view. And taking this idea, because it was so much fun to slot these different pieces into each other, I was able to get a donation from Home Depot, and we were able to do this project on top of outdoor plywood. So they became large slotted pieces that could be arranged and rearranged as they wanted it. We did work on limiting colors and design elements, and we ended up with a great outdoor sculpture. I did a similar piece with vegetables in a summer group. The next one, getting back to the other one, it was a great way for students to become familiar with tools. One-on-one, we worked with cutting these shapes out with an electric saw. It was a saber saw, relatively safe, but one student to one adult was there, and it was fun. It was a very different experience for them. And going on to the next one, it's an 8th grade project, the final project of a series of design projects they were working on. So they worked with color, they worked with mixing colors, and they were given a piece of a large poster. Now, they didn't know what the large poster was. It was sort of a mystery thing. When everybody finished their piece, we put them all together, and they were able to see the image that they were working on. Ended up with sort of a cubistic kind of look. We did a large one with equally as large of a huge dog. I don't have an image of that, but rather successful. And the next is a 1st grade project. They were working